All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the No Guts, No Galaxy podcast 137. We are your host, Phil and Darren. Today is March 30th, 2016. And Darren, how you doing, man?
I am doing very well. It is indeed already the end of March, going into April. It feels like time is going by very fast this year.
I was gonna say, how does that correlate with like being like 400 years old? Is it all just a blur, or is it, you know, you think millennially or like, how does it work? No, too far, too soon.
It's right around the corner, and you'll know what it's like. No, to me though, it feels like we were just up in Vancouver.
It
Like,
does.
yep.
It does. And which
Look
was
at all these
like,
people in chat. Hello, Mark Aurelius and Burma and Tarkus and all you guys. Malgus, thank you for joining us today.
yes, thank you to everyone out there. Hopefully you guys are having a great night, evening, wherever you are. I'm drinking a beer from Texas again. Did you hear the story about
Texas
that?
beer.
Um,
No?
so Texas Red sent me another beer, and the company that shipped it shipped the wrong beer. And so
What did they ship?
it's like
California beer or something?
no, it's a Texas. It's like a Pilsner, beachy but evergreen hoppy. It's drinkable. Anyways, thanks you again, Texas Red. He's like, I'm gonna send you more of something that actually tastes good. And I was like, it's all
You have your beer, man. I got my coffee. Oh
right.
God,
So let's go ahead and
so
jump
good.
in here, jump in here.
Let's dump in
Everyone,
here.
all the dump.
I do want to point out.
What?
Obviously, I mean, hopefully, it sounds like we're having fun. Um, Phil and I actually love doing this. I mean, this we'll get to this later on, but man, it sure feels good to just be kind of just in here chatting, casual.
It's
I
how I
don't know.
felt streaming last Friday,
Yeah.
and I was back to that. I was like, you guys don't realize, like, I would rather be doing this than what I was doing, and
The
yeah.
big giant head says, "Are you guys in the same room, studio, or are you separated?" It's interesting you bring that up, and again, that's something we'll get to a little bit later. But we are separated by many miles, somewhere around 3,000-ish miles. He's on the East
It's
Coast. I'm on
I
the
I
West
told you
Coast.
someone brought that up last time, which was we have the exact same. There's only like three of them in the world, and me and you have two of them, and that shimmering
Oh,
sword,
oh, the
the
the, the
moonscape.
painting behind. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
we both have it right there. So
I love it.
yes, it is by far the best mech porn. But anyways, let's go and dive into a few things. First off, quick shout out to everyone out there. Hey, if you guys have Twitter and you have the ability and you want to help spread the word of the talk of the mech porn, retweets are appreciated. And of course, if you don't follow us on there, maybe today's the day you do that, mech bro. My God, dude, you're drinking out of a soup bowl. Like that's what you're. That's not. You even have a spoon in it to lap it up. Like that's. Come on now.
Coffee is God. Coffee is life.
That's
Coffee is
that's
all.
ridiculous. So
I know.
all right. So first thing, announcements. We have been a little bit slow on this, but there's reasons behind this. We're gonna be doing a 12-hour stream
Reasons.
for the 10K followers on Twitch this Friday, April 1st. It is not a joke. It's gonna be a 12-hour stream, and it might start before the town hall, and it might start during the town hall or after. We're not going to give you a time or date. Just there may be Mech Commander involved. There might be MWO involved. There might, who knows, Mega
Who
Mech.
knows?
We may have a podcast and just watch Darren drink coffee out of his bowl, like
Whatever we need to do. Yeah,
whatever.
basically, it'll be launched somewhere around plus or minus the town hall. We'll be going till Saturday morning or whatever. So looking forward to it. Yeah, it has been delayed a little bit. We'll get to the reasons behind the delays of that and other things a little bit later in the podcast. But we are excited, and we are totally thankful and grateful for all of you for getting us to that benchmark. 10,000 is a lot, and it's a struggle running a Twitch channel. You're fighting for every single follow, every single sub, and it's been an amazing few years with you guys, and we do appreciate it more than we can ever express. But hopefully, we can have a lot of fun with you guys this coming Friday night.
So speaking of which, let's go ahead and dump it. Dump in. What is
Do
up
you
with
need to
me?
do you need to take a dump?
I don't.
Is this some kind of like Freudian slip
I
that
don't
keeps
know. I
happening
don't
here?
know.
If you do, please, by all
I need
means, we
another
could.
beer. This is my first one. That's what it is. All right, let's go
Right.
jump into the topics. We have two main topics today. We're going to be talking about the state of MWO generally, it not going in depth, and then also the state of NGNG. So
Yeah, they kind of go hand in hand. Now, as most of you know, maybe some of you don't, Phil and I are both, we run NGNG, but we're also both employed by PGI. So we're kind of doing two things at the same time. We have our steady work that we do with PGI. Some of that you guys see, some of it you don't. And then we have running NGNG, which has always been, I mean, hell, it started off as a passion project for Phil and I. For those of you that don't know the story, we met in Mech Living Legends. We started our
I
outreach
recruited
TeamSpeak
him. I
server.
recruited him. He was lost. He was out there by himself.
We have different opinions on how the meeting happened, but regardless, we started outreach TeamSpeak and we started doing a podcast just for fun. It was a good year, over a year
God.
of us doing the podcast before we even had any official support from PGI or became employed. And so it's always been a passion project for us. And it's always something that we've wanted to do so much more with. That's the main thing that I'm getting at here is that I mean, we have a list, I don't know how long, of things that over the years that we've wanted to do, but it's a matter of time, obviously. And it's a matter of what somebody brought up, the big giant head, about being 3,000 miles separated from each other. So
You keep diving into that.
I
Do,
know.
do
We
you,
will be getting into that. That'll be the state of NGNG, but we are going to kick it off with the state of MWO. And this, like Phil said, we're not getting into super detail here. We're going to keep it kind of general, but if there's anything that is brought up in this discussion that we feel like, or you feel like needs to get more in-depth coverage, then we can come back to it for sure. So basically, Phil, you want to kick us off? The state of MWO
yeah.
for
So
us.
I mean,
This is from obviously from our perspective.
so let's go dive into it. I mean, we have where are things in MWO today? I mean, I think this is a pretty broad topic. You could say gameplay, you could say balance, you could say maps, you could say community warfare. But if we were to say what are the four pillars of MWO? I mean, you have mech combat, role warfare, information warfare, and community warfare. Now,
Or my four pillars: Warhammer, Marauder, Rifleman, and Archer. So I
of
mean,
course.
yeah. But go
So
ahead.
yeah, no. So I mean, we've got community war, and I feel like this is a big thing looming over everyone's head right now, especially the community warfare phase 3. I mean, we just had a unit send us an email with suggestions of what they would do to CW community warfare, and it was like, guys, like good on you for taking the initiative and writing something up, but it was like none of this actually really matters because of phase 3. Like phase 3 has the potential to change whether or not units actually give a shit about playing community warfare because there's no tangible reason just to play. There's no resources. We've got a lot of issues with like how big, and they're consolidating things to a planet, which I thought was really awesome. And they're separating solo and group, and except solo if you're non-affiliated. So if you're affiliated to a unit and you drop, you're going to be facing groups. And I, I'm sort
Yeah,
of torn on this. There are some hurdles that I'm still a little bit concerned with CW3. Even with CW3, there's some hurdles. Do you want to know about
yeah,
them?
yeah. I mean, obviously, we've said from the beginning of community warfare,
It's
having a
ambitious.
oh, of course, 24 hours is ambitious. But what I was referring to more directly, um, sorry, Grace and Death. When are you two going to do a tandem 24-hour stream? We're getting started this Friday, right after the town hall, maybe right before the town hall, with a tandem 12-hour stream. So let's use that as a warm up. We'll consider 24-hour down the road. But anyway, I think from the beginning, because especially I came from World of Tanks background, we've always kind of agreed that there needs to be a reason for fighting community
Yeah.
warfare more than just putting your tags on a planet. I mean, obviously gameplay was a huge factor back in my World of Tanks days, but also a big factor in our doing Clan Wars, community or World of Tanks version of community warfare, was because of the gold. We wanted to own the properties that paid us gold so that we can,
Back
well,
then
I mean
too,
that was.
you also had gold ammo, which was exclusive to being
Yeah,
purchased.
but that was besides the point. I mean, gold could do a lot of things, premium time, tanks, whatever. It was just getting something for your efforts, other than bragging rights. But also, it's not. Well, I do think that's extremely important. I think that's a huge thing, and we've been bringing that up with Russ since day one with community warfare. But I also think it's a lot more than that. Obviously, it's the gameplay, it's the queue times, it's the whatever makes it interesting enough to do the hard thing, which being an ex unit leader, the hard thing in something like community warfare or clan wars world of tanks is keeping a unit together, keeping a unit interested, keeping a unit motivated. It's a lot of pressure on leaders of units. It's really difficult. And so for me, that's what I'm looking for most of all is obviously you want the motivation to keep it interesting, but you want it to be also easier to keep units together, interested, you know, and yeah,
Let
and
me
just.
ask you. I mean,
Mhm.
from a you said sort of motivating the troops, if you will, but also in regards to like drop collars. Um, do you think that the 24 like the 24 hours? So I mean, community warfare is 24/7. Now, it's ambitious because what that's counting on is that instead of having regional servers where you're potentially locking out a certain population like Euro or Oceanic or whatever, you have everyone in the same, but then that may create some time zone warfare, right? Or in the case of currently, because there's so many planets and blah blah blah, you get long wait times and stuff. One of the main issues I've had with CW3 has always been sort of the struggle, if you will, with units to keep up 24/7. I think is that a tangible? Is that something that puts a drain on drop callers to where they're always having to be available? They have to be on call 24/7. Whereas something like World of Tanks, I mean, you have talked about it, which is 24 hours ahead of time who you're fighting, when you're fighting. And you have a time stamp from certain period to certain period. And I'm just Darren's having some packet issues. I think you're good. I think you're
No,
good.
that was actually it was your packet loss. It was down to 50%. They won't hear it, but I did. Basically, but just to make sure I got what you were saying. You're talking about the 24-hour
Yeah,
community warfare and how
basically, I
hard it
mean,
is.
yeah, how hard it is. I mean, it's sort of sacrificing the aspect of you have to keep up this thing, right? This gauntlet of progression and grind to keep and hold potential planets, right? And coordination between multiple units and stuff. And what about time zones and stuff? I mean, me and you have both witnessed time zone warfare in Eve, whereas the World of Tanks model says from 8:30 to 11:30 p.m. Eastern, your North America time frame for fights are between this time, and you know who, what, how many battles you have, and I feel like that's probably to me the biggest thing is okay, we've given the reason to play. Is it sustainable? And that's where I don't really have an answer yet because we don't have CW3. And so once CW3 comes out, I'm really intrigued to see if having the consolidation to a planet and there being multiple things going on a planet will be enough to sustain, to or
There's
not
obviously pros
sustainable.
and cons for both methods, having 24-hour or having it scheduled. Which one will work better? I don't know. I think ultimately the first step is getting the motivation and the reason for community
Yep.
warfare, i.e., payoff. That's the first big step. How much motivation will that provide? Will that get people, covering all the time zones? Will it make units decide to work together, maybe consolidate, maybe split up? What is going to be the player reaction to community warfare phase 3?
Yep.
I think based on that community, that basically the community reaction to phase 3 will determine whether or not the 24-hour cycle is sustainable or realistic. I think
Well,
it could be, and I think it might not
and
be.
also I think that the other big thing with phase 3 is the split between solo and group. And I still have my concerns with saying what is CW? Like to me, when I think of CW, I think of endgame, right? That is where you go to compete, and that's where we really want units. I mean, we have a bunch of units already in chat. 228 this talking, and I'm sure there's others that uh, that's where you want your competitive actual nature to be going, right? Going for these planets and stuff. And there's other outside leagues or whatever. But for me, it's where you go and practice and you have your matches and you're having that competitive edge. Well, is it really competitive if, let's just say 228 is using it for example, they're dropping as a 12 man, but even with phase 3, they can go up against hodgepodge groups. So to me, that always like, is that competitive? Is that what you really want? So we're sacrificing match quality to allow more numbers, and the fact of you can drop solo or a small group and you're not required to have 12. I mean, how do you feel about the 12 or
Well, what I'm
not
feeling
having
right
12?
now is that this is potentially a topic, like we mentioned, that we want to come back to and get in more depth. I do feel like we kind of should move on into other
Well,
topics as far as MW.
we have a lot of questions. We're excited because I think there's potential. It'll be interesting, I guess, for me hearing what units are actually doing, and where I think, Darren, this is actually really important, is me and you are actually able to participate.
I can't wait, dude. Like honestly,
So
we've been waiting for the. We obviously have alts, but working with the alts is a pain in the ass. I'd love to get it so that our mains can
are we
just
streaming it?
start. We'll drop with different units, have some fun, get exposure for the different units that are out there, and also for Phase 3 community warfare. Um, but also, just to be clear, we may not be getting into details about this today. We may do another podcast with this as the main topic, but also this is going to be one of the main topics, if not the main topic, for the town hall this coming Friday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Russ will be doing a town hall, and so he'll be talking a lot about Phase 3. And Naked Teats, thank you for the host, sir.
So what else is going on with MW right now? We've got something pretty big coming down the road. I mean, I think, and that's
Actually,
rescale.
potentially, yeah. I mean, a couple big things. Rescale being a huge one.
I, I
Um,
I look at rescale being not necessarily game huge, but it has the potential of making mechs that have been severely overscaled or underscaled, and sort of leveling the fields to where, oh, hey, you already have a mech that's a knuckle dragger. Oh, not to mention it's gigantic. Then, it may help that just slightly. And for me, that means the potential for some of these variants chassis to actually be
this
used.
whole global rescale thing caught me off guard, and it was one of those just awesome, pleasant surprises from Russ. Um, we've all been wanting rescales, and we can get past the fact that yes, it's unfortunate that they were released in the game, not scaled properly. But moving past that, just the fact that they're doing an entire global rescale, the amount of effort, I don't know how many people understand what that entails.
Well, we don't
It's
know what it
huge.
entails. And
Yeah,
that
but we're
that's what was surprising to me was the previous town hall. He said it's gonna require a ton of work, and then it was like someone somewhere was like, "Hey, we probably could do it this way," and it was like, "Oh, maybe." So that would be really cool hearing from like the guys like Dennis and stuff like that. That like why what happened? What made you guys decide like, oh yeah, this is definitely practical.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it is time that we have Dennis on a podcast again. But just so you guys know out there in the community, one thing we are working on behind the scenes, hopefully maybe the next, I don't know if it'll be the next vlog or if it's going to be something separate from the vlogs, but we are looking at presenting to you guys the whole entire process of creating a mech, literally from Alex Iglesias doing the concept art all the way through the 3D modelers, the texture artists, the animators, just everything that it takes to get a mech from start to finish. The whole process. We'll do some time lapse stuff, and I think people will be surprised with how much work goes into getting just one mech into the game. And so the whole idea of the global rescale, it's amazing. I'm super happy. I was so happy when it was announced, and it's going to make some mechs just a lot better looking and better performers because of the
Yeah.
size. But some of them are getting new geometry. Like if you've
Yeah.
seen the catapult, man, that looks sexy. But
Yes, and some of them have to. I mean, you got to think like the awesome actually wasn't really overscaled. It was just it was just wider than a barn door. So how do you fix that? And those are the
indeed.
type of things where you have to slim it down in areas, this and that. So it'll be interesting seeing if they do that on certain. And I would love to see this continue. This like maybe it's just every once in a while, or the series every, patch, they, hey, we're gonna do this to this mech because, or hey, it's really skinny, so we're gonna whatever it is. But yeah. So and
Yeah, Bainstorm, that was Lauren Bamlett doing,
yep.
she's a texture artist. And so we've recently kind of started an initiative. Phil and I obviously are big time into mech porn. We believe in the power of mech porn. And we've both been big proponents of getting some of the artists doing creative streams. And so we've been pushing for that. And it finally has happened. It's come to
Yeah.
fruition. So we hope you
And
enjoy it. We're
and I
glad you
also think
enjoyed.
that not only does it humanize the devs, which we've used, that it also shows you like it isn't as easy, or it isn't as quick, or
Yeah.
and when you see the process, and when you if you've watched Lauren stream, or if you haven't, you probably should. She's done the King Crab and a few of the other mechs catapult, where you can literally see like that the tools they're using, why it's so difficult, why sometimes it takes so long, and then you multiply that by how many different chassis, how many different variants, how many different camo
How many
patterns,
different patterns?
and
It's
I'm like,
crazy.
is there an easier way? Like, I,
Isn't there just like a red button you can
I don't.
push and
There's
it all
gotta
comes
be a
out the other?
button. There's gotta be a button somewhere. Like
We
that's
need
the
to
thing.
invent that.
But anyways, very very cool. Okay, so the next thing that I think is game changing,
Yeah, this is pretty huge.
but we haven't heard details. And for those who don't know, again, we're sort of talking about the state of MWO and what's going on. And is when Russ mentioned this new heat scale. Now he hasn't released much information. We're wondering if he's going to do that Friday. Um, but one of the things he did drop a hint on was Twitter. Homeless Bill out there had proposed a energy drain system, had a whole write up and blah blah blah, and he had tweeted Russ, "Hey, you guys should really look into doing something, like this or exactly like it, blah blah blah." And Russ tweeted back, "It's along the lines of this." Which, if you don't know about the energy drain system, I encourage you to go read his if someone wants to link that in the chat. But this is huge because Ghost heat scale, at least to me, it fails on two big things. And that is one, being displayed properly to the player instead of just a warning, but an actual display, like when you're actually in game. And two is you can get around Ghost Heat. And it's one of those where the questions I have for this new system is, does it fix those two things? And then also, what makes this new heat scale system any different than the current system? Why is it better? And why does it require the time of thought to be put in? And that's what I'd like the public to know.
Classical equation, that probably is already the case, so we don't need to build that in. Yeah, I mean, obviously, this has the potential. I think we should use that word, potential, to be a game changer. We don't know the details. We will hopefully find the details out soon, maybe, like you said, Friday night at the town hall. But definitely, the heat, ghost heat, whatever heat scale has been a hot topic since day one. So it will be very interesting to see where this goes and how it affects the
So,
game.
for those that don't know, the energy drain system he originally sort of proposed, Homeless Bill, back in the day, was that weapons were assigned a drain value, and you only had it's sort of like having a drain capacity, and when you exceeded that capacity with whatever combination of weapons you were firing, that it would have negative effects of somewhat. And so you couldn't get around. So, like the dual gas, dual ERP, you can't, like that's, within a certain window. So, anyways. It'll be interesting seeing details about that, or if he even has details. But I think that has the biggest gameplay implications. And also, Darren, with that, that goes into, we've already talked about community warfare, that's on our doc, but it sort of goes into the MW World Championships that are coming up in tourney, because are these things we're talking about, is rescale, is the heat changes going to be in before this starts, or how much time would you give the teams on target this new things? And then when does that snapshot of production go and then go to like public test and it doesn't change? And I feel like that's really important because you want to give them at least 2 weeks, a month to 2 weeks. I think 2 weeks is bare minimum, but I think you should be able to give units a public test server or whatever build they're going to be playing on enough time on target to know what are the changes, or if there are any changes, and how does this affect their gameplay. But I think those two dramatically can it can alter how things are gonna go down in the tournament. I mean, I still think your good, really top units are gonna be really good units, but it's the fact of it may change how the games look, how they function, what builds are being taken, the pace of the matches, and everything. And I feel like that's a really cool thing. But is that
Dirty
gonna happen?
Scrub says that he's fine with Ghost Heat. A lot of people are fine with Ghost Heat. A lot of people don't know what Ghost Heat is. I don't have, I mean, I think there's issues with Ghost Heat or Heat Scale. However, if there's a better system, if a better system is available and workable, then I'd rather go with the better system, obviously. And Scrandum says that really it just comes down to limiting damage. That people will min max around everything. I agree with that. It really does come down to limiting damage and time to kill. So we'll see what happens with it. Whoa, sub hype. You want to announce? Jeez, man.
We just got Destria 4 months in a row, Zoological 3 months in a row, and Azure Raven 3 months in a row.
Azure Raven,
Thank you guys
Zoological, and
so much
Thank you for your
for
support, everyone.
resubbing. Much appreciated, Mech Bros.
Yeah, and was that like planned? Did you guys go 3, 2, 1?
No, I don't know what. It's
What?
and we just had Kyonin for 4 months in a row. Why is it only doing the stuff? I don't know. I'm gonna look into. I'll look into it afterwards. It's supposed to be doing like follows too, but yeah.
Anyway,
so it
thanks
has.
for the subs, guys. Thanks for the
I
support.
feel like this is actually a really good question for this Friday, and it's saying, "Hey Russ, that window of opportunity. It's the end of March, April, May, June. When are things kicking off?" Now, is they mentioned a date of tourney stuff being posted, right? Is that's something that you're sort of working on? Is that something it's not gonna
The
be going up
website
soon?
signups are supposed to go up this week. So I know that everybody has been insanely busy prepping the website. So I'm assuming by Friday, like when we're doing the town hall, it should be up, barring any technical difficulties. But they're working their ass off, and PGI has been, consulting with a lot of the comp scene, the comp crowd, as far as setting this up, and a lot of what we're doing is directly from their suggestions. So it's going to be really cool. I'm super excited about this. MWO World Championships 2016. There's going to be so much fun stuff. I mean, it means obviously we're going to be together at an event somewhere again this year, at least one.
Just hold me tight.
And it means there's gonna the whole comp scene. I love it. You guys out there, they're in the podcast, in the chat that I saw Bandit out there, and some people know how much I have a passion for
Other
that
beards.
scene,
Oh,
and for beards. Bandit knows that too.
so
But
it's with that
it's
though.
gonna be big.
They just had a few matches, and there was some drama going around, but there was some teams that were coming sort of out of left field and really taking it
Oh
to
yeah,
units that had been around for a while,
I know.
and
You know what?
I
What is a comp scene without drama, though? I mean, you've
no,
got a bunch
I
of
feel yeah, well, it's one of those where like it's sort of like that. You've talked about it, like rivalry football, and it's just for
Well,
some odd
and
reason.
look at Eve, man. Look at all the politics in Eve,
Oh man,
the drama and
just don't
politics in
take the
Eve
bait when
Online.
they come in, and no,
Yeah,
but
I mean that's
yeah,
what it is. There's always gonna be people that are pain in the ass, and whether they're really assholes or whether they're trolling and having fun or whatever, who knows? But it is what it
is
is.
it role playing? I think it might be a role
Maybe it
playing,
is.
or
Maybe it is.
like, um,
Anyways, guys, that is the state of MWO according to Darren and Phil. But like we said at the beginning,
there's
that was really
there's
general.
more, but
There's so much more.
I feel like those are like rescale and heat scale are
Well, we didn't
potentially
even get into
like
things like the game modes that have just recently,
yep.
the new game mode, and I think there's a lot of stuff that we need to. So you know what? Let me amend that. That wasn't really the state of the game. That was a really quick brush over of the state of the
Of
game,
and what's
or
coming.
mostly what's coming and what could change the state of the game. I think if we're going to do a proper state of the game, we'd have to totally focus 100% on that for the topic, and maybe one or two
That's like
points,
that's like hours of conversation.
hours and hours
Like
of
that's
conversation. But anyway, hey, we're getting into this next anyway, but we're going to be doing the podcast on a regular schedule, so maybe we can make room for a more in-depth state of the game, specifically things like phase 3 community warfare, the 24-hour cycle, maybe the new game mode,
yeah.
what's happening with game modes,
I feel like a big
etc.
conversation piece And if I was to say what outside of those things, what are some of the topics to be said? And I do think the idea that what about role warfare? I think that really needs to be said. What about game modes? How does it tie into role warfare? Um, because if you look at the game, we have kill the enemy team, and we have or outcap the enemy team, and that's the only roles we actually have in the game, which is fine if that's what it is. But then we have certain game modes that cut out one of those. I mean, skirmish cuts out, and it's always about kill. And if you just look at the game just through just kill the enemy team, there are mechs that are clearly better. So you know, and I feel like that conversation would be really awesome to have about how do you then say, look at game modes, role warfare, um, and say, what is a role? How is it assigned? What's assigned if it's assigned to a mech, and how does that determine anything about it? And then I feel like that's one of the things. I'm not talking about information warfare. I'm talking about role warfare. The idea of one of the pillars. You have mech combat and role warfare. How does that tie into things? So I feel like to me that would be a hot
Yeah.
topic.
Yeah, and game modes. I think we do need, because we were talking about this before we started the podcast. Game modes. We wanted to get into it, but obviously we need more time. Dirty Scrub says want to buy combat escort mode. You know what? The DLC for the Star Wars quote unquote Battlefront game.
Don't even get me started on that.
But anyway, their recent their first DLC has basically a combat escort mission, and I would love to see something like that in MWO. But I do think we need to get a little bit further on with the development of the AI. But again, maybe that's something Russell. I saw people in chat earlier saying they want a single player game mode. That is coming too, and that's just more stuff that Russ is going to have to talk about.
It's on the list of
the list.
The list. Saw him over at on Reddit. I pinged him.
Yeah,
I was like, hey, dude, you're gonna do another list so we can get it to Russ and stuff and maybe touch in. Anyways, but let's go ahead and move on. So we talked about sort of the upcoming state of possibly MWO, and I feel like those are discussion topics.
Post discussion, I feel like that really wasn't a state of MWO, so we won't call it that. But yeah, anyway, stuff that's coming and maybe potential topics for upcoming podcasts. But yeah, we're moving on to, and this is the correct discussion or topic, the state of NGNG.
Oh, dude, we're all screwed. It's zombies, bro. Like,
so what is the state of NoGutsNoGalaxy? That's what we're going to talk about next.
So we recently were contacted by Microsoft, and no. Yeah. So last time we had a podcast, someone, I'm not going to name any names, was like, hey, it sounds like a great idea. We have a podcast every week. And then some people were like, hey, why don't you guys have a podcast? Where's podcast? Podcast. No. Sometimes I think we're a little bit over ambitious. Sometimes I think we have good intentions, and it's one of those where
sometimes we just get tired. And
speak for yourself, old man. Like, I don't...
All right, you don't get tired.
No.
Sometimes I get tired. No, I mean, we honestly, Phil and I have talked about this a million times. I mean, we would do a podcast every single day if we could. But obviously, we want to at least be doing one once a week. So we're here again, and hopefully we can stick to that. That's our goal.
So
we want to be doing it every Wednesday.
Speaking of which, we used to do a podcast every Wednesday. And Darren would hate me if I put him on the spot for saying I think we should do it every Wednesday.
Well, we're going to try. We're going to try and do it every Wednesday. But there's more in this conversation about the current state of NGNG that has to do with our schedules.
So yesterday while I was streaming, so I told people Monday through Friday, I'm going to be streaming 9 p.m. Eastern. The only exception to that would be Thursdays. My soccer matches are from 7 to 10 depending, so that's going to be impromptu if I do stream. But all the other days, 9 p.m. Eastern. And I feel like, one, that gives you guys a clear idea of when I'm going live every single day. It allows us to do whatever as far as manage everything our time beforehand, but 9 p.m. Eastern. And so, basically that's what I am being held accountable for. That's when I'm streaming.
Yeah, I mean, obviously right now NGNG for the most part consists of streaming and podcasts and our website and, various community things that we're doing. But the biggest, as far as content goes, it's obviously streaming and the podcast and then the YouTube page. But So Phil is committing, and he's, his streaming
I'm doing it.
schedule. Yep. Some of our other stuff has cleared up a little bit, so he has more time to do that. Podcasts, we're going to try and do at least once a week, and I think we can stick to that. Some are saying daily podcasts would be too much. I agree. Consider, but just keep one thing in mind. If we do more podcasts, they'll probably be shorter podcasts. So less often, more time, more often, less time. Because you're right, we don't want the podcast to get stale. And in fact, a big part of kind of our break with podcasts is that we've been doing them for like almost 4 years, and we've talked about everything 10 times each, every topic, not that we don't want to keep talking about Mech Warrior and mechs and Battletech and all that, but we just felt like the creative spark we were losing a little bit. But it's coming back. There's some exciting things that we're obviously talking about, and a lot of cool things coming up. Now, one of those things that are coming up, obviously, like we mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, on April 1st, following the town hall, and maybe a little bit before, and somebody said the town hall does not count towards the 12 hours. We will not count the town hall towards the 12-hour stream. But this Friday night after the town hall, we will be continuing our 12-hour stream. Phil and I streaming together, and
Oh, are you streaming or am I streaming?
I don't know. Maybe we'll tag team. Who knows? We don't know how we're going to do it, but we will be with you for 12 hours continuous.
Maybe we do
But
something like this where you're in the bottom corner and I'm in the bottom corner and no?
we could, we may,
Is
we'll
that
see.
too
We'll
much?
do something fun, but we will be doing a 12-hour stream. But then also coming up the week of April 11th. So, boy,
I'll let you
how,
dive into this. I'm just
yeah.
sitting here. I got
As a
beer.
lot of you know, I've been wanting to move my family for quite some time. In fact, this time last year, I was expecting to move up to Washington, the Seattle, Washington area. I am still in the process of moving. Things didn't work out last year for doing it, but things are working out this year for moving. We're just not quite sure where we're moving to. One place we are looking at is Seattle, Washington, so I can be closer to the PGI office and get in there more often. But another place that we're looking at equally is, boy, am I even going to say this? I'm going to say it. North Carolina, where Phil lives. We are actually seriously considering moving to North Carolina, and the only reason for that would be so that
Because
I
you
could be
love
in
me.
this.
That's what it is. Oh,
Okay,
no?
so the only other reason
Oh, okay.
for doing it is so that Phil and I can be in the same location. We can get an office, we can get a studio, and we can totally ramp up our production. We want to do in-person podcasts so that we are in the same room, so we don't have the technical issues that we deal with when we're doing it from opposite coasts. We want to be able to stream tabletop games. We want to be able to bring guests in. We want to be able to just, there's a million things that we can do that it's been much more difficult to do now because we'll have basically all of our computers in one spot. We don't have to transfer huge gigs of files over Dropbox or whatever. There's so many logistical things that make being on the opposite end of the country very difficult for Phil and I to do the things that we've wanted to do for a long time. So I'm basically taking my family out to North Carolina. We are going to seriously be looking at the place, the whole area for a week, and considering if we want to make the move. It's very scary for me. My wife and I are totally West Coast people.
I
We're
grew up I grew up in California though.
I know. So
That's
anyway, that is what's happening. This is huge, guys. If we do end up moving out there, it's going to change everything as far as what NGNG is and does. It's going to give us a lot more opportunity and allow us to be a lot more efficient and just make cooler content. So very nervous, very excited, but that's where we're going to be the week of the 11th through the 15th. So I will not be home, but on Tuesday, April 12th, Phil and I will be doing a live podcast in person from where he is sitting right now. You'll see me sitting next to him. So yeah, we're going to do our first in-person podcast ever. We haven't done one ever in person.
yeah, yeah. It's a true story. But also with that, I mean, we've talked about, hey, it'd be really cool if we could play tabletop. Well, guess who has like 198 minis? Who has? I mean, those are the type of things. Just to have a podcast where you're right here and stuff. I mean, it changes everything. Being able to do some of the things, review of everything, green screens, you name it, all that fun stuff. So we've talked about it in
Gag
length.
me with a spoon. I haven't heard that since the fucking 80s.
someone was like, so they can touch beards together. There will be too much power.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but yeah, no, it's one of those things where we've talked about in length for the longest time. It is crazy because it's been already freaking 3 months since Vancouver, which is like that, and so here we are already going into April, and it's been almost 4 months, and anyways, but yeah.
Storm, I am not even considering Texas. I would never consider Texas. Sorry for anybody who lives in Texas, but no, thank you.
Are we gonna go on the reason why you're not really considering Washington anymore?
No, I
No?
am still considering Washington. So,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
but anyway,
But yeah, so I
yeah,
mean,
it's exciting.
it is exciting.
Tuesday is going to be a big day, though, guys. So be sure if you're around, stay tuned or tune in. We will be doing a live podcast from Phil's room, and we may be doing some live streaming as well. My wife is going to take my daughter to, I think, into Raleigh or something like that while we're doing all this to kind of explore. Got to sell my wife as well. Darren is blushing. The beard rubbing really got to me. Yeah, you know how much it takes to get me to blush? Um, Not much. Sometimes depends. Anyway, it is going to be a big week. It's so again, that's a week from the 11th to the 15th. I'll be in North Carolina. Phil will still be streaming some, although Phil and I are going to be hanging out a lot. He's going to show me around North Carolina.
Well, let's be fair. I live, for those that may know, the Raleigh area is like you got
Did I just say
Raleigh.
I'm going to sell my wife? What did I say? What did I say?
Totally
That sounded
so.
like a
Sorry, Rebecca, you gotta go. It's
How much do I expect to get for her?
Oh
As
my
much as
gosh.
I can to
But
pay for the trip.
yeah, so we're really excited. It's one of those things where like it was like, well, one, I'm not
Two
moving out to
goats and a camel
California.
sold. Yeah,
Uh,
well, you lived in California for a long time, and now but you know what I'm saying as far as being nervous, right? I mean,
I don't know,
it's
because I mean, I moved around a lot. I mean, dude, California, I was in four, three different middle schools, two different high school. Like, so I moved around a lot. Then going into the military, always, I mean, like, always, so it was one of those things where I don't know. I'm sort of sick and tired of moving. It's actually nice having a house, and I'm, at least the next like, 5 years or whatever.
yeah. Well, I mean, anyway, it's going to be an awesome week. A lot of potential. I'm just reading chat.
Yeah, no, right?
Yes, we realize that, Phoenix.
Bros,
Thank you.
bros gotta hang, bro.
Um.
But yeah,
Anyway,
so one thing I'm gonna try to
I'm
have
shaking
ready
my
for
can.
you is the stream and the viewers have helped me raise some funds to get my kegerator, my fridge fixed. So I'm gonna try to have some beer on tap for Darren and fam when they come out. But no, I'm really excited. It's past overdue, and all we gotta do is convince you and the wife to just
Mostly the wife.
to stay.
Malgus, yes, we're very aware of hurricanes. That's been a topic of discussion. It's the debate between hurricanes and earthquakes. Which one is easier
I've
and wiser to live
I've
among?
lived
I
through
don't know.
both, and I'll tell you, earthquakes fucking suck. All right.
Well, I feel like I don't have a problem with earthquakes. I've lived in California my entire life. It's been earthquakes my entire life. We've always been told of the big one my entire life. The difference though, here's a big difference to me. Earthquakes, you have no warning. Hurricanes, you have warning. So the only way you get caught in a hurricane, I don't know, is like just having your head
I've
buried in
lived
a
in
hole
North
and you don't.
Carolina since '99, and I've never had to worry about like if you're on the coast, yeah, you're probably screwed if there's something. But dude, 89 earthquake, 87, 89, the big one, yeah, that was balls, dude. That was
Consider also my wife was wanting to move us to the big island of Hawaii, and because her family used to live there. So literally, we're the way it's weird thinking about it. The way we are looking at where we're going to move was, do we want to deal with a volcano, earthquakes, or hurricanes? So yeah. Anyway,
you're just on a roll, man. Like
I know,
that's
right?
But anyways, just want to say thank you guys for coming out. And so yeah,
No doubt.
pretty short podcast. Only an hour or
Actually,
so.
was it?
But we are going to be diving into next Wednesday. We will have a podcast as I said earlier. I'll be streaming every night at 9. today or on this Friday, we've got a 12-hour stream that'll be kicking off. We won't count the town hall if it is going on during that time. And we're just gonna have some fun. And just want to say a big thank you guys to everyone who's there, everyone who's followed us, everyone who's subscribed on our YouTube channel, all of our subs, our viewers, our followers, our Patreons, our Facebookers, our forum goers. Like it's
real, man.
it
Everything's
it
just growing and
it
growing.
it does.
Caddy Clone says, move to Australia, then all you have is a wild. You know what? You could have Australia. Everything is trying to kill you in Australia.
Dude,
No, thank you.
there is a jellyfish that is the
I
size
know.
of your pinky that's see-through
I
that'll
know.
yeah, anyways, but no, I do want to say thank you guys so much for all of your support throughout the years, your continued support. Like it's me and Darren have jobs because of you guys. Like I want to make that very clear. What we do is because of your guys' sort of your faith and I mean it's that's and your push towards you know always making our content better and hey you know why aren't you having a podcast and stuff like that. We've always sort of had that drive from you guys and it's shaped us into what we are today and again thank you guys so much. I it blows me away that you know log in and we have this I don't know this much support from people all over the world, and I think they
We have an awesome community. We always have, and yeah, I mean, I love the BattleTech Mech Warrior community. I've said it a million times. I'll say it a million more. I love you guys. And Phil's right. We wouldn't be where we wouldn't have jobs with a game developer with PGI without you guys and the people that supported us in the beginning. So thank you. And know where our heart is. Honestly, I mean, like I said earlier, we would do these every single day if we could. We love hanging out with you guys. I miss it big time. I totally miss it. Um, and it's just because we're being kept so busy with PGI because of your support and what we're able to do with them. You know, the little kid in 1984 buying the tabletop game of BattleTech, I never would have guessed 30 years later, knowing all these people, Jordan Wiseman and Mitch and Russ and PGI and you guys and being a part of this awesome community and this game. And you know, basically, yeah, Sniff, who's crying? Where the potential is for all this to go with if Phil and I live in the same area, it gets me excited more probably than I've been excited in quite a while because of all the things that we can do
so I need your guys'
with
help
you guys and for you guys. Yeah,
coming up with strategies and tactics
to get me there, to
to
keep me
get
there.
him here. I mean, you know, like I'm like, what can we do? You know,
Oh, that's what it was. Sell my wife. Yeah, I was saying you need to sell my wife on
the
the
idea.
idea of living in North
I don't
Carolina.
know,
Maybe I
man.
didn't
You
finish
know,
the
two
sentence.
cows and a goat. That's pretty up there. Like, but
I would need a house where I could keep goats and camels and stuff. But anyway, um, that's it for now. We will be back next Wednesday. We'll do another podcast. But in the meantime, obviously, we got Phil streaming every day, maybe Thursdays. And we have the town hall coming up this Friday night, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. It'll probably be another
long
crazy
one.
3, 4. I don't know how
Oh,
long it's going to
and
be.
as I quoted or I said in chat, I will not be drinking Scotch ale or any alcoholic beverage on the town hall. It was fun, and fun times were had afterwards, except when Mama Bear kicked me
I
off
guess I guess
stream.
I turn into a mean drunk or something during the town hall. People were saying I get a little bitchy or something like that. But yeah, you get into you
I
turn into just I
what
don't know
man?
goofy drunk.
I have a good time, man. You know, I'm just
Yeah,
saying. Just saying. But anyways, guys,
cringeworthy. But anyway,
I just want to say a big thank you to our community, our listeners, new and old, our subs, our Patreons, our Twitch viewers, subscribers, our guys that help out. Thank you to Zwuff, hashtag Candy Legs for life. And of course, I just want to say thank you guys for your continued support. And you know, again, it's crazy. We hit 10K on here, and then we hit we're on our way to like 13K on YouTube, and you know that means a lot to us. So
they love us,
yeah,
Phil.
yeah, So I just want to say thank you again. Don't forget, if you do want to help support us here, we've got a Patreon, we've got a Twitter, Facebook. If you're new to the channel, maybe you've never followed us, well, click that button down below. That way you guys get all those notifications. And of course, I just want to say thank you again to all of our new followers and our resubs: Adestria 4 months, Zoo 3, Azure 3, and Kionin for 4 months. Thank you guys.
Thank you to our new and used followers. We appreciate it.
All the used. Anyways, guys, this was your local No Guts, No Galaxy MechWare podcast. Signing off for tonight. This is Phil.
And this is Darren.
Until next time, Mech Warriors. Is this where we sit here awkwardly and do you know when I cut it off and you don't know?
Yep.
It's like, you know.
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
Good night, everyone.
Hashtag goodbye. Love you long time.
Appreciate it there.
That's what I wanted. I'm just kidding.
Dom or Conquest?
Conquest all the way, baby.
Get them sea bills.
Oh,
Conquest Alpine.
At least it's Conquest on
Conquest?
the part. Yes, in general, you earn more on Conquest with Seabills.
And of course, as normal, Darren and Phil, this is probably going to be my last drop. I've already been streaming for like
600,000 out of Conquest before.
over 5 hours.
So my average
problem.
Conquest is like 350k versus Skirmish, which is like 220.
That's the problem. I don't do well in